Huge shout out to the first comment and huge shout out to the Noted Gang. If you guys want to get featured in the next video, all you guys have to do is like this video, subscribe, post notifications on, and leave a nice comment with your gamer tag. We're going over the top 5 SMGs in Warzone right now, and we're going to start out with the most popular one, which is the H4 Blixen. So the H4 Blixen is absolutely incredible, and this setup right here is going to have the highest TTK. Also, I'm going to give you guys a no recoil build, but we're going to start out with the recoil booster for the increased fire rate and decreased accuracy. Move on to the Janssen 9-inch RMK for the damage range, and bullet velocity with a slight reduction of recoil control and accuracy. You get a decreased hip fire accuracy and headshot damage. Honestly, it's not a big deal. Throw on the slate reflector or the niter, or you can use the Magnus CZA if you just want increased aim down sight speed and can actually handle the iron sight, but that's completely up to you. Throw on the remove stock for movement speed, sprint to fire speed, and aim down sight speed. Get a decrease of flinch resistance, recoil control, and accuracy. Also aim walking steadiness, but that's not as big of a deal as you would really think. Throw on fleet for weapon swap quickness and movement speed, quick for sprint speed, groove grip for aim walking movement speed, horizontal recoil control, ADS firing move speed, and aiming stability. You get a decrease of sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed. Put on the 7.62 Gorenko 54 round mags for the recoil control and accuracy, increased torso damage, and magazine ammo capacity. You get a decrease of movement speed, bullet penetration, bullet velocity and range, and aim down sight speed, but then put on subsonic. Now this one's actually pretty interesting. It's completely up to you whether you want to use subsonic or lengthened. Lengthened, you get increased bullet velocity, but with subsonic, you actually don't ping on the minimap. Put on the SG98 compact for aim walking movement speed and reduced scope sway and gun bob, and this is the highest TTK build. Now, if you guys want no recoil, you keep everything just about the same. The only difference is you're going to throw in the Bergstrom 17-inch F3 for the recoil control and accuracy, bullet velocity, and flinch resistance. You get a decrease of sprint to fire speed and idle sway, and honestly, the bullet velocity is actually not as high. This recently got nerfed. So here's the thing, this is not the highest TTK build, but it is the most accurate build. So you will be able to hit all your shots, but it comes at the cost of a lower TTK. Moving on, we're going to the fastest weapon in Warzone right now, which is the PPSH, and we're going to throw on the recoil booster for the increased fire rate, slight reduction of accuracy. Throw on the Empress 140mm Rapid for the fire rate and bullet velocity with decrease of horizontal recoil control and sprint to fire speed. Trust me, you want to have the Empress on there. Throw on the slate reflector or niter, completely up to you, whichever one you want to use between these two. I don't really suggest another one though. Throw on the skeletal for the sprint to fire speed and movement speed with initial firing recoil reduction. And I mean, I can't even try to say this word. Kovalevskaya. Chat, can somebody tell me if I actually said that right? Tight grip for accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. Quick for sprint speed. Polymer grip for flinch resistance and accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. Throw on the 8mm non-boost 71 round mags for the recoil control and accuracy, fire rate, and magazine ammo capacity. This is actually the best choice, even though it shows the bullet velocity and range decrease, movement speed decrease, bullet penetration decrease, and damage decrease. This is still the overall best option. Plus, you put on subsonic, so you get no firing ping when you actually shoot this weapon, and lengthen if you want to actually use bullet velocity, but I mean, it's up to you, whichever one you want to pick. It's between these two. If you don't mind getting shown on the minimap, then lengthen is the best option, but if you want to be, you know, low key, then subsonic is a great option. Throw on the M19 30 strife angled for the horizontal recoil control increase that you actually get a decrease on with the Empress, and this is a no recoil, absolutely dangerous SMG to use. It absolutely melts the enemy. Definitely a best option to throw on for an SMG. Next, we're going to use a fan favorite, which is the MP40. And I actually haven't talked about the MP40 for in a while, but this is overall a great build. We're going to throw on the recoil booster for the increased fire rate and slight reduction of accuracy. Throw on the VDD 189mm short for the damage range, bullet velocity, and limb damage. You get a decrease of headshot damage, but that's not a big deal because you're mostly going to get limb damage in the first place. Throw on slate reflector or niter. Or if you don't want to use either of those, you can use the Krosnick ISO 1M, and it'll give you alternative iron sight, and it'll give you increased fire. It'll also give you increased aim down sight speed. So if you want to use this, completely up to you. Throw on the Krosnick 33M folding for sprint to fire speed and movement speed. You get a decrease of initial firing recoil. Throw on brace for the initial firing recoil fix. Throw on quick for sprint speed. Throw on taped grip for aiming stability, movement speed, weapon swap quickness, and sprint to fire speed. You'll be flying around the map with this, trust me. Throw on the 7.62 Gorenko 45 round mags for the recoil control, movement speed, aim down sight speed, and fire rate. You get a reduction of bullet velocity, damage, bullet penetration, and damage range. You can throw on lengthen to fix that. This already has a ton of bullet velocity, so if you want to throw on subsonic, that could work too. Throw on the Mark VI Skeletal for aim down sight speed and movement speed with a reduction of hipfire accuracy. And this is an extremely fast movement build that has a great TTK. I highly recommend it. Next, we're going on to the Armaguerra, and this SMG is absolutely incredible. Still in the top 5 in regards to TTK and SMG in general. They're on the recoil booster for the increased fire rate with a slight reduction of accuracy. They're on the body 315 MMC2 for the damage, less damage fall off at long range, and bullet velocity. You get a reduction of recoil control and accuracy, no big deal. They're on the slate reflector or the niter, whichever one you want to use, or just this iron sight in general, completely up to you. I mean, I think they're actually, yep, there is one. So it's kind of like the MP40 where you can get increased aim sight. You can get increased aim down sight speed if you want to use that. It's completely up to you, personal preference. They're on the Emerito SA folding for sprint to fire speed and movement speed to get a reduction of initial firing recoil. They're on hard scope for the recoil control. They're on quick for sprint speed. They're on the hatched grip for recoil control and flinch resistance. You can throw on the 9mm 60 round mag. Now this is one of those situations where you really don't want to use any of the other ones. Like this reduces the fire rate, this reduces the damage range. It's just overall not a good choice. Overall, you want to use the 9mm 60 round to have the best of every world. They're on lengthen for bullet velocity, or if you want to use subsonic, you can use subsonic so there's no minimap ping when you're actually shooting the enemies. They're on the M1941 hand stop for the recoil control. If you don't want to use that, you can use the M1930 strife angled, or you can use the Mark VI skeletal if you want increased movement speed and you're feeling good about the recoil control. Last but not least, we're gonna go over the Mac 10 because the Mac 10 is absolutely amazing still as an SMG. Throughout all these seasons, this meta has still been an incredible and viable option. So we're going to start out with the agency suppressor. Now, some people would wonder, well, why would I use this when I can use something like the sound suppressor, which basically has the same thing? Well, here's the thing. This has increased effective damage range, which sound suppressor does not. Sound suppressor is good. It has sound suppression, aim down sight speed, bullet velocity, and sprint to fire speed. But this has sound suppression, vertical recoil control, bullet velocity, and effective damage range. So if you want the increased sprint to fire speed, use a sound suppressor. If you want the effective damage range, which this is going to be good for, then use the agency suppressor. You get a decrease of aim down sight speed, aim walking steadiness, and aiming stability. Versus this, you just get decreased effective damage range. So you got to really think about it. Do you want to sacrifice your effective damage range, or do you want to sacrifice some aim down sight speed, aim walking steadiness, and aiming stability? I think this is the best option overall. They're on the 5.9 task force for your effective damage range increase. A bullet velocity, strafe speed, you get a reduction of vertical and horizontal recoil control. I don't really think there's any other better alternative. Like, other than that, I mean, if you throw on the 6.1 reinforced heavy, you get effective damage range and bullet velocity. But, I mean, you don't get the strafe speed. So it really is up to you, whatever you want to do. If you want to not have the strafe speed, doesn't really matter to you, then you could put on the 6.1 reinforce, so you can still get the effective damage range and bullet velocity perks. But I think you should have all three, so task force is the best option. Throw on Tiger Team Spotlight for movement speed and aim walking movement speed. Trust me, this is very helpful. Plus the only cons really flashlight visible to enemy, which people don't even notice in the first place, and aiming stability, which is something that's not really going to matter to you. Trust me. Throw on the Raider stock for ADS firing move speed and aim walking movement speed and sprint to fire time. Trust me, this is going to make this SMG fly, and you're going to be able to strafe like crazy. Get a reduction of hipfire accuracy, and last but not least, put on the Staynag 53 round drum. And this is the best Mac 10 class, guys. Let me know in the comment section down below which SMGs you want me to cover next, or what weapons in general you want me to cover, and I'll gladly do that in an upcoming video.